Welcome to the TEFL Training Institute podcast, the bite-sized TEFL podcast for teachers, trainers, and managers.
I don't know what an ideal classroom will be like. I suspect one thing is that it's going to change a great deal over the years to come. I have a strong suspicion that the classroom of the future is actually a virtual classroom, and that a lot of teachers and students will meet together in virtual reality type environments. I don't know if I'd call that the ideal classroom. The ideal classroom...
Hi, so what you just heard there, the sound of Jim Scrivener, author of the Teaching Bible, talking about the future of teaching. Mm-hmm. Today on the podcast we have a special guest.
This is Jennifer.
Hi.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi.
Jennifer
nice
who?
Jennifer Liu. So Jennifer, can you tell us about your current position and what your responsibilities is?
Okay. Right now I'm working in an online company which teach students English. I'm doing some of the teaching quality check job. Teachers and students, they don't actually know that we are watching their classes.
Wow.
Well, you're like Big Brother.
Yeah, so it's kind of, mysterious. Yeah. So sometimes teachers may get a call saying, hey, you did this in the class.
Wow.
And then they get really surprised. How did you know that? So, it's effective.
Scary.
Yeah.
I don't want to teach online.
That's so interesting though, isn't it? Because you think about how much when you observe someone, you change their behaviour, right? The observer's paradox. But that's so interesting that every day in your job you're observing people, but they don't know about it.
Yeah, they don't. And the other way what we do is we use students' role. So we just book teachers' classes to have the class with them. More like an undercover.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so Jennifer's on to talk with us about online teaching in the virtual classroom. So we've got 3 questions.
So the first question is?
What's happening with, as Jim Scrivener called it, the classroom of the future now? Tracy?
The second one is, what are the challenges for online teaching? And the third one?
What are the effects of the virtual classroom on the language teaching industry? Jennifer, you mentioned a minute ago what you see every day. All of us have experiences as students, right? We've all been through primary school, high school. Probably most of us have been to university. We've been to face-to-face training. So we all know what a class looks like. But I think very few people really have such strong expectations of what an online class looks like. So what does it look like?
Actually, before I joined this company, I kind of doubted whether online teaching is effective or not. And then I gradually observed that actually it could be very effective. So in front of the computers, actually both students and teachers, they have to do a lot of prep work. For teachers, they have more things to do.
Like more things than in a face-to-face class?
Yes, they have to make sure they have very good teaching environment. Whether your camera is at level, so whether you're seeing the students while teaching them. Yeah, so
that's interesting, because I read something years ago about how important it is when you're teaching kids that you sit down so you're at the same eye level as them. And you don't want to tower over them. Yeah, but that's so interesting that online it's a similar thing.
So what the students usually do? So they want to answer some questions, they click the button or something, or they are showing...
There are actually several ways. First one, for students who can speak better English, of course, just right away tell the teacher or ask teacher their questions. But for some low-level students, they might refer to the online dictionary and then they type the things in the chat box to talk to the teacher. For some student who has very low level or they are very shy, they might turn off the camera.
Wow.
Yeah, that they could, or they can just chat in the chat box.
Because often you'd hear about beginner level students as bugan kaiko. I'm too scared to open my mouth. But that's so interesting that students online, that's maybe like a nice way around that.
In my mind, I thought, okay, online teaching is only good for listening and speaking. But with the, what's it called? Chat box or something?
Chat box.
And also you can do like typing and writing stuff.
Yeah.
So actually the 4 skills also can be
Covered
or developed.
And
So
because you're typing things, like it always annoys me when we see students writing with a pen and paper, which virtually no one ever does now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other big differences then between like for the students or for the teachers?
For kid learners, as you know, their attention space is quite short.
Yeah.
So they could probably stay for maybe at most 15 minutes. So for teachers, it's really challenging for them to really keep them sit there. So I've seen teachers using hand puppy and even DIY the flashcards. So
and with that, when they're doing that, are the parents normally sitting next to them, like making them pay attention?
For very younger learners, probably the parents would stay next to them.
Yeah.
But for bigger, like 11, 12-year-old, they can manipulate the computer themselves. So the parents are not there.
Do you think it's a good thing though, especially for the very young learners, because it's encourage their parents to be there and get involved in their learning process? Because usually in real schools,
Parents are quite removed.
But
of
the thing is, it has the bright side. But another point is when parents are there, Chinese parents, some of them, they're really, really strict. I burst in a class a month ago, and that was a little girl just finished the lesson actually with a teacher, and then I heard the parent, actually the mother, didn't yell but criticized the girl, saying, "Why didn't you talk to the teacher earlier? So why don't you just read?" That little girl just became really sad. So this could be dangerous.
Wow, it's interesting that sometimes we only talk about the teacher, how they manage the kids' behavior. But in this situation, the parents also get involved in it, and how the parents, manage the kids' behavior in a positive way.
Yeah, so almost like you might need to educate the parents first.
Yes.
Yeah, is that something that happens at all?
I think, they even said do not interrupt the lesson, because sometimes...
Or they start shouting out the answer. I know, teacher!
Yeah, sometimes it happens actually. So sometimes the parent just translate right after a teacher asks the student. So the learner just look at their parents saying, "I know this."
Yeah.
So I would say this is also another difference from, offline school. Okay.
So you must have seen hundreds of teachers teaching online. What are some of the biggest, commonest problems?
And we emphasize a lot when I taught in offline schools, saying teaching environment is very important. We use that to create a very relaxing, teaching environment. So this applies to online too. Yeah, you have to at first make sure your teaching environment is quiet, bright enough for the learner to at least see teachers clearly.
Yeah, right.
Okay, this is the first step. And then from teachers, I think it's really hard for them to interact effectively with the learners. That's why teachers, they have to use many techniques. I've seen teachers using different visual aids, realities, and they sometimes stand up and then even dance in order to demonstrate one word, for example, dance maybe. Yeah, so I think it's challenging, especially for teachers who it's shy. They don't like to do that kind of exaggerated gesture. Yeah, of course, if you do too much TPR and to an adult learner, and the adult learner could probably think, what this teacher's doing, it looks stupid, right? So I think teachers, they have to be really careful, like when to use and how to use them.
Moving on then, so what effect do you think online teaching is having on the language teaching industry in general? Because it's something that I think 10 years ago when I first started, it didn't really exist. It wasn't a concept that I'd heard of.
Many changes actually happened. For teachers, they don't need to fly to different countries. For example, some teachers may come from America to China to teach.
Which is so expensive from having worked in a sort of like an HR department.
Yeah.
It takes basically 5 months from a teacher clicking on an apply now advert to them teaching their first class, which is so long.
It costs how much?
Oh, I mean, God knows, but it's tens of thousands of dollars to bring someone over. Got all the marketing, recruitment, airfares, visas.
Clearly compared to the offline classes, and it's a lot cheaper. And
I mean, I think ultimately for education, that side has to be a good thing. And again, a lot of people spoke about this when the internet first came along. It was going to make the world more of an equal place and that everyone would have more access to knowledge. So I guess in some way, maybe that online teaching is doing that. But I've also heard that the downside of this, it's kind of like the native speaker and the non-native speaker argument, that if you can go online and get a one-to-one class at a cheap price, then maybe that devalues teachers' experience and qualifications and things, because you go, well, why would I pay even more money for a teacher in a class of 20 students who's actually been trained up and everything, compared to completely less and have a teacher that's one-to-one, and one-to-one must be much better.
I think another downside of this is discouraging social skills, because you are facing the computer all the time. You are typing, you are using your phone, your mobile. Even now on the subway, right? We all experience this. 99% of the people just look at their phone.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of people don't know how to communicate. And we've seen this even during interviews or stuff or meetings. And people have really bad social skills. They don't know how to say hello.
But then I just had a bunch of interviews, and every single interview I had, it was all on Skype or WeChat. So if that's actually the experience students are going to have when they apply for a job, or a lot of them are probably learning English to communicate with someone in India or in Brazil or in Russia, and maybe actually putting them in a situation where they're learning English in an online classroom.
Yeah,
it's more realistic, isn't it?
I'm not saying there's no value about that, but my point being is because you stay in front of the computer and doing that kind of thing for a long time, and of course the other part of the social skills be a little bit decreased.
Underdeveloped?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, or something like that. And we talk about English as lingua franca. We talk about different accents and different mode of English. I think that's a fantastic way to have the learners exposed to all the different models.
So I don't know if any schools are doing this yet, but you're right. I mean, it would be very easy, wouldn't it, to have teachers from India, Philippines, like the BRICS countries. But I wonder, is the problem going to be with that? Like we've seen in the UK and the US, I think that a lot of jobs get moved to countries that pay lower wages, and that companies might actually, instead of paying for qualified teachers or whatever, and it's basically just a way that companies can save costs by paying teachers in smaller countries lower wages.
It's interesting because, okay, for a teacher, they have to fly to the country and teach in a physical school, and they have to get certain certificates to be able to get the work visa. There is a kind of standard either.
Oh, right. So the government's saying to teach students in my country, you need to have this certificate. But now with the internet, well, guess what? I don't have to come to your country. I can just teach them online.
Yeah, so how can we make sure the quality overall?
I guess it would just be the governments would have to check the providers. If you are a company in this country and you want to sell classes to our students, then...
But again, I think for a new industry or growing industry, at the very beginning, maybe there is not many like specific regulations. Either the government or the administration or whatever, and they are going to have more specific regulations to check, and there will be more like paperwork or checks.
I think it's definitely something that has disrupted the regular language teaching schools. Like I was speaking to one national manager in a big language teaching school, and they were saying that in some of their biggest cities, the markets shrunk in the last 2 or 3 years, and they were saying that because there's all this online teaching, and why would I pay all this money to go to this physical school when I can get an online class for less money? And I think the other thing is that the sort of traditional brick and mortar face-to-face language schools are going to have to do something to get their act together, right? Because those schools haven't really changed their products very much, that the offerings to the students haven't moved forward. So I think maybe for me, one of the biggest advantages is it's a real kick up the arse for your regular language schools. You're going to have to start doing something different. It's not enough anymore just to bring foreign teachers over and use them to sell classes.
Right.
So Jennifer, if I was thinking about becoming an online teacher, what's the single most important bit of advice that you'd give me?
Okay, the first thing, you have to have a laptop. If you want to work from home. And then I think it's very important that you have a good use of your voice, because the students, they can feel the energy from you. So, facing a computer could be boring sometimes, so you have to use your energy to influence the students.
Jennifer, thanks very much. It's been fantastic having you on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Okay.
See you later. Bye.
For more podcasts, videos, and blogs, visit our website www.tefltraininginstitute.com.
If you've got a question or a topic you'd like us to discuss, leave us a comment.
And if you want to keep up to date with our latest content, add us on WeChat at TEFL Training Institute.
And if you enjoyed our podcast, please rate us on iTunes.